Kevin and Brendan or Glenn will make it in.
I'll keep an eye out for them.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I do have 6 p.m. So I call to order this Sedro-Woolley City Council meeting. Today is the 10th of February, and I ask that you all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We'll go through the roll call here. I do know Glenn and Kevin were in the last meeting we just came out of. I'll begin with Brendan. Brendan?
Present.
Chuck?
Present.
Carl?
Present.
Joellen?
Present.
Great. And Brenda?
Present.
Excellent. I am making a note that, well, I'll call out Glenn. Not in yet. And Kevin Loy. Also not in yet. Hopefully we'll get them included here in just a minute. Okay, moving on to the approval of the agenda. So we have a couple kind of interesting, actually, a couple little things that we're going to do. First is, I don't know if you noticed, but there were a couple late materials that were submitted. And this has to do with the fire department. So I am actually going to call on Dean and Frank to talk a little bit about this, since the council didn't have opportunity to really possibly to read through this and let them know what this is about. It would have been on consent agenda had we made it on time, and it's not the fire department's fault. It was in our own offices, there was some confusion and mix up. So either Dean or Frank, do you want to talk about the training facility fees and the assistance to the firefighters grant?
Certainly, Mayor, I can do that. Frank and I are both here. The first one is the training site fees. We need to change those up, since we actually are now giving the instructors the same as the volunteers get for down at the training site. We need to increase those fees. We haven't done it in the past 10 years. So we're just wanting to bring that up. The second one is the assistance to firefighters grant. That's the same one we've done in years past with the same one we did our air packs on. This is the Frank's first one to go for the new radios, and it's actually a county-wide grant. I shouldn't say county. How many departments, Frank?
6 total.
6 total departments going in on this grant. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, because that's a huge dollar amount for those departments, and it's a very much needed item. So those are the 2 items, and unfortunately, we were hoping they would be in sooner, but for whatever reason they didn't make it. Does anybody have any questions on the 2?
I do.
Okay.
Hey, thanks. Can you tell us a little bit more about the radios? Because I know that's a really big deal with the technology, and it's I support it, of course, but I was just wanting to, if you could highlight it more to the public on how that's going to help with safety and helping with public safety with our residents.
You betcha. Thanks, Councilman DeYoung. The radios that we currently have, we haven't truly done a major upgrade or replacement for almost 15 years. The technology, as you know, with your normal cell phones and the stuff you have at home with your Kindles and everything, is changing day in and day out. The new P25 encryption, which I am totally not in total understanding of this, is where the wave of the future is going to, and public safety, where when we have these mass incidents where we want to have interoperability between law enforcement, police, national parks, forest services on these wildland incidences, and large scale disasters, we can take these radios to the command center. They can drop them in a little deal and mesh them together so we can all talk on the same frequencies, which is one of the things that we found at September 11th and over the years. when we have these big incidents where we have lacking in communication. And we had it locally here with OSO, as well as the wildland fires that we were a part of up here in the national parks at Diablo and New Halem here in the past. And we just haven't had the need locally to be able to do it financially, fiscally, or the infrastructure to allow at our dispatch center. Well, that is all changing with some of the grants and the monies that the sheriff's office and 911 board has allocated over the years, and we're slowly going to that, law enforcement and fire. It's a pretty big bite for us to go financially, and for a budget for us, looking around $300,000 for our individual city. And some of these other agencies probably would never be able to do this, even if they did it a little by little over the years. Because we've got New Halem. We originally tried to get Hamilton involved, but they couldn't get enough signatures fast enough to be a part. But we got Day Creek, Clear Lake, Prairie, Hickson, Lyman, all of them on board with all their commissioners. And the grant is only open for about 3 weeks. So our timeline is this Friday. Right now we're looking at about 960,000. We had a whoops on the quotes that we got where we didn't have some mics allocated. So we're trying to get those numbers added to this. But we got to be under $1 million to be eligible. It makes it a little bit more worthy, I think, if we can get a regional grant together instead of one individual department. And some of our counterparts here to the west had the same grant allocated to them about 3 years ago. So we're kind of playing catch up, and would be a huge win for us if we could get $300,000 worth of equipment for us for, pretty much just the taxes on it, and help our neighbors and be interoperable with our mutual aid folks right around us.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you, Dean. So looking at the approval of the agenda, please include the late materials when you are making the motion. Also, we are going to pull the filming ordinance, and it's only going to be temporary. What we need is a fee schedule. So in the language, we do have the fee schedule, but we haven't provided one. So we'll bring this back to you on the 24th. But for now, we're going to pull it. So for whoever makes the approval of the agenda, if you will mention those 2 items, adding the late materials and pulling of the film ordinance, that would be amazing. Before we do that, I want to make a note that I do see that Councilman Loy and Councilman Allen have joined the council meeting. So fantastic. Good to see you guys. All right. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda, including late materials and excluding the film fee schedule, film fee discussion.
All right. Thank you.
Councilman Owen, second.
All right, I have a motion by Councilwoman Kinzer, seconded by Councilman Owen, to approve the agenda, which would include the late materials and pull the filming ordinance. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye. Not opposed, sorry. That was late.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. So moving on then to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember DeYoung, I have a question about number 5. I understand that there's some housekeeping, a little adjustment from previous agreements. If someone could talk about that.
Housekeeping, are you talking about what we asked them to include in the contract? So what we did is, because I've been in discussion with them, in fact, both Doug and I have been in discussion with them, something that we saw that we didn't see in the contract that we wanted to add was, first of all, would meet with them maybe on a monthly basis, just kind of a check-in, because I am putting together kind of a micro and macro vision of the city that I would like for them to work with us on. And the second thing has to do with adding commercial as well as the industrial and business piece. So just a couple little items. They didn't have any problem with it, and we look forward to working with EDAS.
Right. So we'll see more of them rather than an annual type of presentation. That's excellent. Thank you very much for that work.
Thank you. So do we have a motion? with the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, Councilman McGoffin, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right,
Madam Mayor, Councilman Allen, I'll second.
all right, thank you. So a motion by Councilman McGoffin, seconded by Councilman Allen. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. So moving on to staff reports. And Chief Klinger, we'll go back to you.
Thank you. And again, thank you for taking care of us there with those two late items. I wanted to actually give you some COVID numbers, but they're kind of all over the board. So it's really hard to give you good numbers that would be accurate come Friday. Friday, as you know, we are having another look at, we'll get our chance to possibly go to phase 2. And as we kind of look at those numbers, Frank and I have been crunching them here the last few days. There's a very good chance that we will be moving into phase 2. It just really depends on what goes on with the ICU units up north of us. But as the trends look right now, the numbers are coming down for those ICU units, and we very possibly could move into phase 2. Knock on wood, you know, I hope so. I know a lot of the businesses in town are really hoping to get there. But it truly depends. I mean, Skagit County numbers look good, but it's our neighbors to the north that I don't want to say drag us down, but that's where we seem to be having our issues.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, Chief Tucker.
Yep, just a report in 2 areas. We made a job offer to a young man who tested really well. We're waiting for final background on him and starting to move forward with all the other stuff that's entailed in hiring. He's passed all the tests we've given him so far. We have 1 more spot to fill after that, and happy to report that after we had oral boards for officers, we found like 4 or 5 outstanding candidates that we're gonna have a tough time choosing which one would be the best fit for us. So that's in the hiring area. In the second area, some of you may have seen in our social media post on both Instagram and Facebook. We had last week, I think it was last week, we had the guy running away from one of our local businesses carrying about $2,000 worth of chainsaws. We had great engagement from, let's say, one of our local businesses assisted in the recovery of their own chainsaws, chased the subject down and caught him for us and held him, and we were there right behind him. Great to work with the public like that, even though it could be kind of dangerous for the public and potentially dangerous for the thief getting caught by a shop, owner. So we got that back, and oddly enough, the jail didn't want to take that guy. So we turned him loose with a stern warning not to be stealing stuff in Sedro-Woolley. So we went to Burlington, did the same kind of shenanigans, and got caught by them as well. He's not a terribly, I guess, effective crook. And he got arrested by them, but then he escaped from custody at the hospital when he was out getting checked out fit for jail here earlier this week. And then we went and just found him again. He's not hard to find, and he keeps failing at his chosen profession. So this time we decided, well, we're just going to make sure he goes to jail. So he did. And he's where he belongs right now. And kind of hopefully getting the treatment he deserves, and maybe he gets to explain himself to a judge. And Mayor, that's all I have to report.
All right, thank you. Director of Building, John Coleman.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you. So as you recall, a couple of weeks ago, we passed an ordinance updating the building codes. So as expected, we received a rush of building permit applications ahead of the February 1st change in codes. So we have a large stack of applications, both single family and small apartment complex, 24 unit, and a couple of mixed use buildings in the urban village mixed use area. So that's exciting. A lot of building activity may be coming our way. A lot of those are just wanted to get their stuff in so they could get reviewed under the previous rules. That doesn't necessarily mean that all of these are going to be built in the next few weeks. Some of them may take months or even a year before they start work on some of these projects. And so staff will be reviewing the applications over the next several weeks and working to issue permits if everything is submitted properly. It's what we do. It's just kind of a big rush of permits at this time. And we also received a subdivision application for the Bucko property, and we'll be working our way through that. That's 65 single family lot application. And so there's lots going on as far as review. The Planning Commission is going to be working on the sign code changes for the Central Business District. They'll be having their second read on that. And we'll see, they won't be making any decisions this month. And the Planning Commission is also going to be holding a public hearing on proposed updates to the Shoreline Master Program. That is the first of 2 public hearings that the Planning Commission will be holding on that. So they'll be reviewing that item again in March. And that should be coming to the council probably in June, maybe late May. Lots going on. That's just letting you know what we're working on currently.
All right. Thank you, John. Director of Public Works, Mark Freiberger.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Our design activities are mostly what we're working on right now, although Doug and I are both working on grant applications for the current legislative session down in Olympia. We'll be submitting 2 from Public Works, and then Doug is working on helping us with another one for the Parks operation as well. The first one is the Jones-John Liner Trail project. We are submitting again for the whole banana on that. 30.3 million is the ask at this time, and that corridor project is included in the current Senate version of the Forward Washington project list. So it looks like we're good on that side. We've also requested of Representative Eslick to sponsor us in the House version of that Representative Fay is currently putting together. And so we hope to have them on both sides so that when they get together and start negotiating, we're in a good position to survive the cuts when they inevitably will come. So we've got that in both Senator Wagner's hands and in Representative Eslick's hands. In addition to that, we are going to make a run at funding the vehicle storage building down at the new solid waste fleet public works operations area. As you know, we talked about that at some length last time we met. We were able to fund with the money that council had allocated from rate revenue the construction of the basic reduced building that includes the mechanics bays and a couple of storage bays and then the crew operations facilities. But we were not able to include in that overall project the vehicle storage building. And that's about a 75 by 136 foot building that would basically just be a heated space for putting our very expensive wastewater and solid waste vehicles in. So this is a $3 million ask, and we're taking that forward as a capital budgets request. And then Doug is working on the Memorial Park grading and playground upgrade for $450,000. So we're working on those, and those are due on the 12th, on this Friday. So we've been pretty active with those. As far as our other projects, We'll be talking in executive session tonight about a possible action on the township Highway 9, Highway 20 intersection project. I did have a good meeting with the owner today, and I think we've resolved the issue. We still need to talk tonight, but it looks like we're moving forward on that particular project. That'll break the logjam that's kept us from finishing the design and requesting our obligation of our federal funds.
Mark, yours, I don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Kitty cat jumped on my keyboard, I think, or something like that. Anyway, so we are moving ahead with that design. Hope to have that ready to go out for advertisement in late March or early April, and build that later this year. Lots of other things cooking here, but that's probably enough for now. We'll talk again later. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Director of IT, Bill Chambers.
Hi, all. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you sound
Okay,
good.
great. So for IT, we're pretty much same old, fixing things, upgrading computers, helping with the grant for the fire radios, MDTs, cop cars, Zoom meetings. And we did order some additional laptops. I'm not sure if those have arrived yet, but if they haven't, they should this week. And those will be for kind of reserved for checking out for folks that need to telework if that arises. The Ricoh multifunction copier for finance is about 2 to 3 weeks out, but we're all set to replace that machine and could get a competitive replacement rebate on those as well. We're working on that. The CGIS security audit has come up again. I'm working with Tamara on that to complete it. And the Bias to Springbrook transition for the financial software is done. There may be a couple of folks of managers out there that still haven't contacted us to get them set up for accessing the financials through the web. But you can contact me, Jill, or Glenn with assistance there. And one of the bigger things that's happened recently is the analog audio controller in the council chambers failed. So that's kind of accelerated our getting some estimates for the first stage of phase 2 of the AV upgrade for the council chambers, which will include a new digital audio processor and kind of a centralized digital controller, a newer one, so that we can add some of these fancier new components. And for the cemetery software project, we're kind of in the procurement planning stage for that, and that's about it.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Financial Manager Jill Scott. Jill, your mute is on.
I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, and good evening, Council. I just have a couple of items to report on. As Bill mentioned, we did go live on our new web-based financial software program, which was pretty exciting. You might remember we converted to the hosted version of Bias just last September, which was primarily for the purpose of moving to a hosted rather than a local server. But a few months later, we were notified that they would be rolling out a new cloud-based software platform in early 2021. So we wanted to begin the process of preparing for another conversion, even though this really came at a busy time of year. But we have gone live, and so far I've been getting very good feedback from managers, and I've been able to use the software program at home as well. It's has enhanced security and just greater flexibility for working remotely, which is really important right now in the COVID landscape. We are continuing to work on wrapping up 2020 and tying everything up to prepare for the 2020 annual report, as well as providing the information to council for how things looked in 2020. And we are also still operating with one fewer staff members in finance, but everyone's been working really hard. We also had somebody out due to a possible COVID exposure, but fortunately that was confirmed negative. So we're back to full staff minus the one. And other than that, we're just continuing to support the various departments on projects and as people have requests for help. That's all I have to report.
All right, thank you, Jill. City Attorney Nikki Thompson.
Good afternoon or good evening. I don't actually have anything to add this evening.
All right, thank you, Nikki. And City Attorney or City Supervisor Doug Merriman.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. It's interesting listening to a lot of these things everybody is sharing. There is so much everybody is doing, a lot of the work behind that. And sometimes it sounds like we're just buying another software program, but there's a lot of strategy behind it. We're really looking at bringing our technology just right on the cutting edge. And there is goals in it too on some efficiencies. I know Glenn and Bill spend a lot of time on an old server down in our server room for our cemetery software. And it's one of those, there's a laptop that information's on, and my biggest fear is someone is going to spill their coffee on that thing and that program's going to be gone. So, and it's an old program that's not supported anymore. So we have some things that we're doing to really get us into some good situations and have those be really efficient for staff. So everybody's working hard and doing a great job on that. So a few things from my office. Mark already mentioned our grant work we're doing with our legislators and Senator Wagner's office. I am working on Memorial Park for $400,000. And so Mark's doing a lot of work on 2 transportation projects. Our goal is to write these up so everybody in Olympia knows what we already know, that our projects are better than everyone else's. So we'll get that in there and hopefully we'll get some success on getting some money coming back to our community. This week on Tuesday and Thursday, a number of our staff are doing training with the county on the Emergency Operations Center. And what we're doing a little bit, the training the county's putting out is a little basic. It's kind of for new users. Here at Sedro-Woolley, we've had EOC training, which is what we call that already, but it's good to start coordinating because a lot of our training has just been in-house with our own staff. So even though some of it's kind of basic, we're hoping we find a few pearls of wisdom in those conversations that'll help us, because if we get a regional-wide event, we want our work with the county to be seamless and have that set up now and not on the fly if something happens. So we'll be finishing that tomorrow, actually. That's 7 hours of training we've been going through this week. The library project, attached to your agenda packets, I did put in a financial report from the library. We're getting really close and I'm just ready to wrap that one up. We're doing our final punch list. We have a few little hang-ups here and there on things like just electrical outlet covers and where lights are hanging. So we're down to the nitty-gritty and trying to get those things wrapped up. The goal has been this week to get a certificate of occupancy. That could maybe push in the next week a little bit, but that's how close we're getting. I'll be working with Jean at the library district and with our design engineers a little bit on their work of getting their furniture and fixtures moved into the building. So you'll start seeing it. Now it looks like a library on the outside. It's going to look like that on the inside here shortly. So we're getting close. A couple of staff things we have going on. We have a new finance director coming to us. Mr. Mark Roberts from National City, California is going to be joining us as our next finance director. We thoroughly grilled him for a couple of weeks through multiple interview sessions with different people. And each time he came out as the #1 pick for everybody. I was talking to staff because as we were talking with him, he called up to check on things like medical benefits and things that he wanted to know about for his family. And when I talked to him, he said, yeah, you know, I did a cost benefit on my Excel spreadsheet and I have it all laid out, my trip up to Washington. And all I could think is, yep, we got the right guy. So he seems like he really comes with a lot of skills and things that we can use, and we'll have him on here starting March 1st is the target date, and you'll all get to meet him, and we're looking for good things from Mark when he joins us. And then one last people item, we have two of our staff, Sarah Lopez and Casey Sosa, who have been doing some homework, and they actually tested for and got their level 2 operator's license. And this is a good thing, and we should acknowledge them when these things happen. They do these things on their time, and it's kind of their own self-motivation. And it's a good thing when you see staff really doing those things to help our team step up and get some good levels of certification. So I just wanted to put both their names out there and kind of congratulate them on that. That's a really good thing, and we're proud of them. That's the end of my report.
All right, thank you, Doug. And then moving into council reports, I will begin with Brendan McGoffin.
Hi, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to talk briefly about the COVID-19 vaccines. We're starting to see our pharmacies in our area get some supplies. So if you're eligible, please look around. I know some of the pharmacies are offering scheduling via their websites. So if you're in the eligibility group, please take a look. They also have waiting groups. If you're not in the eligible group and they have a leftover or cancellation, you can sign up for an extra spot. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Glenn Allen.
Not much to report tonight, Mayor, other than I did notice that Doug's desk was very clean and Mark's desk was very messy. So somebody's getting the work done and somebody's not.
Oh.
We shouldn't judge the work by the stats. How's that? Councilman Kevin Loy.
I don't have anything, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilman Chuck Owen.
Yeah, just one little item, Mayor, thank you. I tuned in to the utilities meeting tonight and it was very informative and I enjoyed it. They did a great job. And I just want to congratulate each and every one of them. So that's all I have, unless you want a case of the gout. I got that I'll share with you.
Most generous, Chuck, but I think I'll pass. Thank you.
Oh, Chuck, I'm sorry. That's awful.
Councilman Carl DeYoung.
I'm sorry, Chuck, to go into that. That is not pleasant. And I wish you a speedy recovery on that. Madam Mayor, kind of busy in Ward 6. Would like to follow up with our folks about Jameson and Township. As our constituent brought it up on the 14th of December about the signage there with people running the stop signs. So I know everyone's busy with the grants, et cetera, but just letting you know that continuing to track that. Taking some time, giving input on COVID on the national level, making local money available to our small businesses that are struggling. Very encouraged on a state level to see that, let's see, I have it right here. House Bill 1095, which will exempt the B&O tax from any granting or loans that we get to businesses that are trying to help with the COVID. So if you're struggling and you go out and get the COVID money, the plan is not to get a B&O tax on that. So that's a support. Good to see our officers working with other, our law enforcement officers working with other areas. And I'm glad that individual, the chainsaw bandit, is getting his day in court. So also additionally working with, had meetings with several nonprofits that are eager to remove the invasive non-indigenous, non-native, excuse me, plantings in Riverfront Park and get to a replanting of native plants. So looking forward to seeing that progress as well. So that's the report from Ward 6. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Joellen Kesty.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I have a few things, so I'll try and go through them quickly. Number one, we had a porch pirate in my ward recently, and our police did a great job of catching the thief. And I wanted to share with them that a few of my neighbors loved their social media presence, getting the word out about it quickly. So thank you for that. Second, I realize the impact that COVID is having on our downtown businesses and that they are having to think outside of the box to make ends meet. However, we need to make sure that permanent changes for a temporary situation doesn't lead to the destruction of our historical buildings downtown. I would like to see changes regarding regulations for our CBD and design review standards and amend changes to maintain our historical character for our buildings. I think together we can accommodate businesses' needs while maintaining our historical charm. So huge concern for me for that.
All right, thank you, Joellen.
Oh, sorry, one more thing.
Okay.
Along those lines of that, I don't know what can be done with that or where we need to go, but I'd like the conversation to start happening so that we don't see our historic buildings changing the front facade. So if that means that we have to get together and talk to the planning department, things such as that, I'd like to see something like that start to be in the works. And
yeah, so it's good what you bring up, and I think that it should be addressed and something it should be talked about. So I would encourage you to take this to the planning committee, and you know, you can even sit in with them, but take it to the planning committee and address that, and then they would make the recommendation to the council, and then the council would make that determination if they want to see that go to the planning commission. Is kind of the steps that would go, and I think what you're bringing up is, I think it's something others have seen too. So I think it's valued, Joelle, and I'm glad that you're addressing it tonight. Thank you.
okay, is there something that we can do that kind of prohibits businesses, but while we're trying to work on this? Forgive me, I forget the word. It starts like, is it
Moratorium.
Thank you, Brenda.
Moratorium.
Can we hold that on so that we until we get a better game plan? Can we do something along those lines?
So John or Nikki or even Mark, do you have an answer regarding that?
This is John. I can speak a little to that. If we wanted to do a moratorium on changes to the facades of buildings in the central business district, we could do that. So Nikki might need to help with the language on that. So we would probably, what we would do is put a moratorium on accepting new building permits is what we would normally do. Some of those changes don't require building permits, so there might be some things that kind of could potentially squeeze through the moratorium. So we can look at that. What I can do is bring a memo to the planning committee of the council at their next meeting, probably in March, possibly April, depending on people's availability, and get the ball rolling on this issue.
Okay.
May I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead, Councilwoman Kinzer.
Madam Mayor, can we make a motion for immediate moratorium to halt all changes to the facades of businesses within the central business district until we get our codes revised around those changes?
It would be most appropriate to do that by ordinance.
To do it via an ordinance.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So we wouldn't be able to do it right away. This is something that we would need to discuss at the 24th council meeting.
Is that something we can get the ball rolling on?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. We can bring that before you at the next council meeting on the 24th.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Allen.
being a previous business owner down there, I don't really want to take a knee-jerk approach. I think this is something that has to be thought out a little bit.
Okay.
When you're telling people that invest a lot of money, how they have to do things and what they can do, I think there should be a little interaction with the people affected. That's my own opinion, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Yes, okay.
May I
Any
make a
other
comment?
comments? Yes, Councilwoman Kinzer.
I think due to the recent changes that have happened in the downtown corridor, that was something none of us expected. And it is quite unsightly. And I agree with you, Glenn, definitely, that it needs to be looked at, reasonably, but changes to the magnitude of what just happened downtown are completely unacceptable to maintain our historical character down there. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We don't want anything else like that to happen in the downtown corridor, in the central business district, that completely dismantles the historical character of the buildings down there. It happened so quick, and there was really no discussion. That's my word. I had no idea that was going to happen. It was very disappointing to see it just wiped out the character of one of the most historical buildings on the block. And I think we need to prevent that from happening to any further businesses that are in historical buildings. We thought 2 years ago, we thought this was going to be taken care of by an organization within town that was going to get historical designation to our downtown area. But they dissolved. That did not happen, unfortunately. And now we're faced with having to find a way to take care of that on our own as a city. And we're going to really continue to lose the historical value of our downtown corridor if we don't put the brakes on it immediately and revise our codes in order to keep that historical presence within that area.
Councilman Ken, I totally agree with you. But, there has to be give and take. I mean, not give and take, but there has to be a conversation with the other merchants downtown. I think, I don't want to just legislate stuff and be just an ugly big brother. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that, Glenn. Totally. But we were all blindsided by what just happened. And I really think things need to be really looked at carefully on a case-by-case basis. Because
Can I ask you what event you're talking about? Because I'm really not, I don't hang out down there very much. So if you can
Okay,
answer,
well, to be blunt about it, the bullpen put up two white garage doors on the very front of their building. Garage doors.
Built in 1912 in a historic downtown building. So all I'm asking is to a pause so that we don't look like a garage Main Street. I'm just asking for a pause on that to preserve our history and the buildings.
So, and actually with the moratorium, it's a temporary moratorium. That is something that we can bring to you on the 24th, and you'll have a chance to read through it and you can have that discussion on it. Is that something that sounds appealing to the council, or are there other objections or other comments that people would like to make?
I am all for that.
As am I.
Okay. So that is what we will do. We will bring to you a temporary moratorium. All right.
And I'm sorry, I had one more thing because we had a utilities meeting too, and then I'm done, I swear. So we had a utilities meeting tonight. We talked about multifamily sewer and RV park sewer facility charges and the solid waste program, which we decided to table. And Mark, if you want to elaborate on any more, I'll let you do that.
Thank you, Councilmember Kesty. So yes, we talked about 3 topics tonight. The first was the question by council regarding the solid waste recycle program, and Leo Jacobs prepared a pretty much a memo that covers the various pluses and minuses and changes on that. And we reviewed that with the committee, and the decision was made, as I understand it, to bring that to the full council. So we'll bring that back to you for all of your consideration coming up in a subsequent meeting. Probably best at a work session. So we'll try to get that scheduled in just so you have some uninterrupted time to look at that. We can chat about that and have Leo come and speak about that or participate in that. Regarding the other 2 topics, they were both related to sewer system general facilities charges. That's the charges that we do for new construction that pays towards the future expansion of our wastewater facilities. And we had a request from one of our developers, one of our larger ones, to review the way we calculate general facilities charges for multifamily. We did that, did quite an extensive research on that. Katie Isaacson prepared a memorandum, which was provided to the committee for their review. And we did find there was some I don't know what you'd say, rationale for looking at doing some adjustments. I presented some options to the committee, and the committee decided to stay the course with what we're doing currently, which is we do not differentiate between multifamily and single family or condominiums or duplexes or triplexes. They're all considered, no matter what size the building or the apartment anyway, as a single family residence in terms of the general facilities charge. And so the committee had recommended that we stay the course on that. So that's where we will go as a staff, unless there's some other desire on the council's part to look at that any farther. Related to that, we had a memorandum prepared in the spring. Actually, we had a proposal for a 75 unit RV facility out on Fruitdale Road. They've not got as far as actually submitting plans or stuff. It was all just a preliminary review that we did on that. And they also were questioning the cost of general facilities charges for their proposed facility. I prepared an estimate for them of what that would look like. And that was based on what is permissible right now for an RV facility, and that would be based on fixture units, same as we do for commercial establishments. It came in as a percentage of what a single family charge would be, which we presented to them. They still thought it was a really high cost. That's all relative, of course, and asked us if we would consider looking at an alternative way of doing that. And the only vehicle that I saw was the possibility of considering RV units akin to the accessory dwelling units that council adopted here a few months ago, where we actually have two classes. We have units that are up to 450 square foot are charged a general facility charge that is 30% of the single family unit. And then a second one that is over 450 square foot, which is at 61%. I actually didn't recommend that we go forward with that. And because I personally didn't think we wanted to, we cannot permit something that is permissible under our code, but nor do we need to encourage it by lowering rates just targeted at a particular facility. So, and the utility committee concurred with that, and that will not go forward unless there's some other direction that comes out of council. So that's a report tonight, and we'll come back to you again on the solid waste recycling program at a future work session. Thank you.
Right, thank you. And then moving on to Councilwoman Kinzer. Brenda, you're on mute.
My apologies.
That's okay.
Okay, I have a few things. Oh, first off, I'd like to apologize. Wait, no, I don't want to apologize. It's wonderful to hear the high school marching band out practicing on the field across the street from my house today. So it's making a little bit of background noise. So I apologize for that, but no, I don't. Okay, a couple things. I'd like to talk about the Northern State Hospital Cemetery. As the mayor may not know, there's been a lot of damage out there recently. A lot of graffiti on the brick wall, on the floor, on the walkway feature. And Nathan, thank you so much for your department for taking such great care of trying to restore that and get rid of all that. You've done a fantastic job, and those little twerps keep coming back. And I don't know what motivates them, but it's really sad. But I know we had talked previously about the possibility of cameras and trying to figure out how to make that work. And I've done a little research, and there is a cellular camera available that we could purchase, like a game cam, but it's not, it's cellular. Probably run $300 to $400 a piece, plus a monthly fee of $20 to $30 for transmitting the photos. I'd really like to think about those and see if the council would possibly agree on using our discretionary fund to fund the purchase of such cameras. So at least we can capture the little buggers in the act and maybe try to do something more, or possibly just deter them because they're seeing the cameras there. What do you think, Nathan?
Well, yeah, we did look into the different possibilities up there. Glenn and Bill and IT did some research and found a good camera. And then we went up there and kind of looked for a good place to mount it, and we really couldn't find a place. So we decided that we're probably going to have to set a pole of some kind to get it high enough so they can't damage it. So we've talked about it. We've looked at the possibility, but that's about as far as we've got. I did reach out last week to our archaeologist that's working on our permitting for the bigger scale project that we've got coming, and she's going to be getting back to me on where we're at with that process next week. So I know we don't want to wait that long, but eventually I'm hoping this problem will be solved once we get the permanent fencing in up there. But yeah, if the council wishes, and if we can step up the pace, I guess, on doing the game camera option, if that's what you would like.
Have you done research on those kinds of cameras?
Yeah, Bill and Glenn found a couple of options, and yeah, Brenda was correct about the price. And you have to basically, it's like a little mini cell phone in it. So you have to pay basically a monthly fee once you, on top of purchasing the camera. I think it's probably in the same range as a normal cell phone, probably, $50-$60 a month. So. But
I've seen them for less than that, Nathan, but possibly you're looking at different, more quality camera.
But yeah, we can definitely do that if so directed.
Brenda, this is Bill. When Glenn and Nathan and I were talking about this, it's not that the cameras aren't readily available, and it's the finding a solution to make sure that the camera doesn't get damaged or stolen.
Right. For sure.
That's the big barrier right now.
Yeah. Yeah, there is one big power pole that one could go on up there, but it is probably quite a ways away from the places that the actual damage are occurring. So the only thing that might do is capture a license plate or something of a vehicle going in the area. So I do understand that barrier.
I don't know when the last time you were up there, but last Monday we did block the area off with cabling and ecology blocks. So you're not able to access it anymore with vehicles. You have to kind of park out on the road and walk in. And we just did that to basically stop the damage from occurring until we can get back there and do the permanent repairs. So.
Okay, wonderful, Nathan. Thank you. I haven't been up there for, oh gosh, it's probably been 3 weeks. So thank you. I hadn't seen that yet. I appreciate that. And also I have an announcement to make tonight. I have 2 announcements to make. We continue to vaccinate people out at Sedro-Woolley Clinic for COVID. We've vaccinated several hundred people out there. Not only tribal members, but also employees and their families and people who were able to step up when we had the power outage and vaccine was in danger of expiring because of the power outage. So we said, hey, anybody who can come, please come. And they did. So yeah, we've had a lot of great success about getting some vaccinations out there, as we will continue to as more vaccinations become available. Very happy about that. Okay, I have another announcement to make. As of March 24th, I submit my resignation for city council due to personal reasons. March 24th will be my last day. I'm really saddened to do this. It's been a fantastic ride for 7+ years on the council, but due to personal reasons, I will be relocating. So I'm no longer eligible to serve on the Sedro-Woolley City Council. Thank you. That's all.
So Brenda, I have to say, I realize, I appreciate you first coming in today and making me aware of this announcement before you made it today. And again, I want to restate just, I'm saddened by the news, and I know that this is something that you really need to do. So I want you to take good care of yourself, and I want you to do what you need to do, but you are going to be greatly missed. You've been an anchor here on the council, and you're greatly valued. You truly are. So, so thank you. Thank you for the courage that it took to share that with us. And we're glad that we have a few more meetings with you before that comes to an end.
I'm glad about that too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Brenda, sincerely. So I guess along those lines, making you all aware that come Tuesday, we will be posting the position, and we will run it, I think, for 6 weeks. I had conversation with Doug tonight, and I think that if we hold the application process first council, well, actually the work session in April. So that'll be about 6-7 weeks that we'll have to acquire applications, and we can make a decision at that point. So It's kind of hard to wrap my mind around the idea that we've lost 3 great council members, and not quite yet. We've lost 2, losing a third, and in just such a short period of time. So anyway, grateful to you all, but grateful to you, Brenda. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I have just a couple things. First off, I know that there was a discussion by both Councilman McGoffin and then also by Councilwoman Kinzer about vaccinations. And I want to make you aware that the Skagit County Fairgrounds are going to close their COVID testing site at the Skagit County Fairgrounds will close permanently after March 13th. And on February 23rd, testing will be operating on reduced hours from 1 to 4. The Skagit County Health will continue to utilize the fairgrounds location for COVID-19 vaccinations only. So though if somebody in your ward or somebody wants to know, Saturday, March 13th will be the last day that they'll be testing for COVID. All right, and then also a reminder to the council that we are going to be doing a council retreat. We're going to have that in April. In first part of March, I'll be sending out possible dates. I do want you to think about what you might like to see happen during that. If there's certain discussions or topics that you would like to bring to the retreat, that would be fantastic. So be thinking about that. Oh, something that I was going to mention that I thought was really fascinating, and this is as of the 8th of February. As of the 8th of February, there have been 16,885 vaccinations given, and that's about 12% of Skagit County, of the population of Skagit County. So with that, we will move on to public comments. It is 7:01. And I will open it up to public comments. I don't know if there's anybody on to make public comment, but if there is, please give your name and address and limit it to 3 minutes. And before that begins, I do want to ask, I didn't check in with you, Doug. Did we receive any public comments?
No, I didn't receive any public comment requests.
All right, thank you, Doug. So is there anybody who would like to make public comment? Okay, hearing none, I will close this public comment at 7:02. I just want to remind the public that we do take emails and letters, and if you want to submit them, we will read them into the record on the council meeting. So thank you. Moving on now to unfinished business. We have the 2021 athletic field and RV park fee ordinance. This is the 3rd reading. This will be ordinance 1976-21. So I believe, Mr. Salcida, are you going to be presenting this?
I am, Mayor. Thank you. So good evening again, everyone. So as the mayor said, this is on for a 3rd reading tonight, and it's an ordinance amending Sedro-Woolley Municipal Code Section 12.36.020. And once again, it's a 4-part ordinance that proposes to raise Riverfront Park RV rates and Bingham Park rates to bring them closer to market, and then addresses the length of stay at those parks. And then it creates a fee structure for athletic field usage for the city. And then kind of the stickler, seems like it's been the stickler, is that addresses tent camping at Riverfront Park. But at the previous meeting, there was some questions as to what ordinances were being violated, when folks were trying to take showers, I guess, in the hand washing sinks and things like that. And I did a little bit of research, and I was unable to find any specific code violations, that were being violated by that activity. So we discussed, over the last couple of weeks, we've discussed it quite a bit at the staff level, and we've weighed the pros and cons, and all the issues that we've dealt with down there over the years. And we kind of keep coming back to the same conclusion that the park's just not set up, both in terms of staffing and facilities to support tent camping. But looks like I have, they were on here. It looks like I invited Ken and Loretta to attend the meeting, and it looks like we may have just lost them, because I can sit here and, pontificate all night, but they're the ones that are actually down there doing the work, and are the folks that are the ones that have to deal with the problems we've had. But it looks like they may have just logged out. I was hoping they would be here to answer questions, but it really comes down to a policy decision of the council. Staff doesn't recommend keeping it, but we'll, it is what it is. So happy to entertain questions or comments.
Are there any comments or questions for Nathan?
Yes, I do have questions and comments, or comments. What are the things that are hindering the park from providing those services at this time?
I'm sorry, that are prohibiting what?
Those services at this time?
Well, really, it's a lack of adequate shower facilities. And one of the big problems is we've got the small east shelter, we call it the small shelter, on the east side of the park. And that bathroom, when folks rent that for reunions, weddings, birthday parties, whatever, that they have to share that bathroom with the folks that are coming up from the RV. So there's a little bit of a conflict there. But it's really comes down to the sanitary stuff. Taking the showers in the in the hand washing sink, and Ken and Loretta will go down there and there'll be water all over the floor, and suds from soap. And when the folks are down there doing the tent camping, that's when we've had the biggest issues with drug paraphernalia, things like that. So it's problematic. But
so clearly we don't have the facilities to support tent camping. If someone is tent camping and they want to bathe, they have to bathe in the sink. And come on, people, that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable for you and I in our own homes. That's not acceptable for somebody tent camping. So I don't feel like, it's not reasonable to think about allowing tent camping when we can't provide the proper facilities.
Yeah, from this, what we talked about at the staff level is if council wishes to continue this, we should take a step back and do it right. We should probably staff it properly, maybe look at it, constructing those facilities. If the community wants to make that investment to do it right,
Yeah, well, maybe we just need to take a step back completely on tent camping right now with the whole COVID thing going on. If we were to allow tent camping right now, I'd be really worried that a homeless population would come in and rent tent sites on a regular basis and create more problems. You said there's already problems down there with drug paraphernalia, so that would continue. We can't have that. We can't have that. So we need to rethink this whole process, in my mind.
Any other comments, questions?
I would like to comment, Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, Councilman Owen.
I agree with Brenda. I've been down there and I've been in that bathroom when the tent campers has done their bath and left, and it's a mess. And also I've seen some campers, they don't take the time to go up the steps to go to the bathroom. They just do it in the in the tent site. So it's not set up for tents. I run the parks up in Mount Baker area, and I know what a mess they can make. If you're going to have tent campers, then you have to be set up properly for it, and we don't have that. So I agree with Nathan. It's not a place for tent campers.
Councilmember Pesty?
Yes, Councilwoman Christie.
I also agree with Brenda and Chuck. If we want to have something like that, we should have the facilities to accommodate that. And since we don't at this time, we could work on that, getting towards that. And then, but for now, I agree with them.
All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor, Councilman Allen,
Yes, go ahead, Councilman Allen.
all sorts of bad attitude. Okay. You know, Riverfront Park is not a B&B, it's not a hostel. I know that one of our council people were saying, oh, people that ride bikes want a tent over here. We're 26 miles from Anacortes. A world-class marathoner can run that in 2 hours and 6 minutes. So a bicyclist on wheels can go way past us. I just feel like it's, you know, if they want to stop, when I used to run, I would stop at Three Rivers and rent a room and have a relaxing shower and a spa, you know. It's just too much feel good, and it doesn't really address a lot of people. We've got to be real about it. Nathan and the crew are busy enough. We've added Winnie, Hauser Park. The cemetery is a big addition to their maintenance. We're proposing, I think, Reed's Park. You know, how much can his staff handle? So anyway, that is my spiel. I just think it's a good feel for nothing proposals.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Councilman DeYoung.
Hi, Riverfront Park is in Ward 6 and represent Ward 6. And Nathan, I just really wanted to say personally, I appreciate all the time that you've put into this and the time that you've spent with me educating, and also with Chief Tucker educating on this issue. And I also have received further information that the council might not know. Beyond that, Riverfront Park camping is stated in several guidebooks for people cross-country traveling on their bicycles. And I appreciate Councilmember Allen's math of the variable there, but you never know where people are starting or how their day started and where they decide to get lunch, get a cup of coffee, and enjoy our jewel of a park down there. Additionally, we have a business in town that uses the tent camping area to promote it, to suss out their recreational equipment before they go on a guided summit at Mount Baker or Shuskin or one of the other pieces of the North Cascades. And they view that as an asset to their business and why they do business in Sedro-Woolley, and that they would be unhappy to have to remove that asset from their plan. I also agree with Council members Kesty and Kinzer that there ought to be something there. And there are many ways to make that happen with a coded shower system, much like we see at KOAs, et cetera, that is unique to the person using it. So that way, if there are problems, it can be tracked instantly. Of course, that's a cost. It's something we have to consider in a budget. I also highly respect and highly regard Loretta and Ken doing all that work down at the park. It's incredible what they do. It's incredible, an amazing park, and certainly don't want to add to their workload. We have had a change with the camp host there. There was as I understood it, and I'm willing to hear contrary information, there was a great working relationship between the hosts to work to make sure that we had a very well-run campground. There was a change because that camp host passed away, and there was a little hiccup in that staffing. So yes, staffing is extremely important when we're dealing with people there. I noticed in this ordinance, the piece that it is now silent on tent camping and is just referred to as an RV park. So that assumes that or presumes that the tent camping would go away, as I understand this ordinance. And I know it's something that people use. They like to have it. Of course, there will always be bad actors. And also, I just have to respond to the broad brush that all homeless folks are going to be doing illicit activities. And we know that's just not true, especially with folks getting out of domestic violence situations that have used that area for tent camping, as we see community action has helped with some of that payment of those sites. And I'd hate to see some of those resources go away for those that are vulnerable and in need before they get permanent housing. So those are my statements. I would agree with everything that's going on with this ordinance, except with the tent camping. And I don't want to be viewed as opposing the fee structure or what is going on. However, with the language being removed about the tents and that it's just now an RV park, I understand where we're going. So thank you for listening.
Right. Are there any more questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 1976-21.
All right, thank you. Do I have a second?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Allen, I'll second.
Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor. Yes, I have an amendment. I would like to restore 10 camping sites in Riverfront Park.
We already have a motion on the table.
Yes, I'm making an amendment to the main motion.
Okay, so we will make it. I said also, are you making a motion? So who wants to second that? Okay, hearing no second, we will go back to the original motion as stated in the packet. So a motion to authorize approval of the 2021 user fee ordinance of athletic field and the RV park. Motion made by Councilman Owen, seconded by Councilman Allen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to the amendment to the CBD parking regulations. Mr. Coleman.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Again, thank you. So this was a proposal the City Council was looking at earlier this year, late last year, about how to deal with new development in the Central Business District. There was concern that one specific portion of the municipal code would have a negative impact on parking. So for new developments that include residential above and commercial below, our code previously, or code currently, exempts developers of those new buildings in the Central Business District from having to provide any parking for the residential dwelling units built above or behind a new commercial or retail use. That was intended as it's been there on the books since before I was around, but the intent is pretty clear that it was to encourage developers to build new commercial and residential in our downtown to stimulate development in the core of the city. But there was concern, so the Planning Commission took a very close look at it. So the procedural history is in the Planning Commission's findings and facts, and I'll go over now what they what they are making a recommendation for. This is just a first read, so we're not asking for any motions tonight. I just wanted the city council to understand what's in front of you. So first, the planning commission looked at the central business district in kind of two different districts. There's a map in the planning commission findings of fact that has a blue line. So they often refer to areas within the blue line. And that is the core downtown area. I can read to you that specific area is bounded to the north and the west by the railroad, and to the south bounded by the south by the alley between State and Warner, and on the east by Puget Avenue or 4th Avenue. So that's that area. That's basically our CBD, the historic area. And within that area, they took a close look at what new development would look like. That's the area where the buildings are mostly without parking already. And so we're just talking about new development though. And what they found was for smaller developments. So if you look at the building that burned down there at the corner of Metcalf and Woodworth, it's a small lot. It's about 8,000 square feet. And staff helped by doing some analysis for them, showing what could be built there and how many units could be built, how many parking spaces would need to be done. And we did this actually on a variety of spaces around town in the downtown area. Some larger, some medium size, some smaller. And what the analysis bore out was that with a small lot like that, if you have to provide 4 or 5 parking spaces, that takes up about half of the lot. So that really changes the character of the development and isn't really the way buildings in the downtown area are currently built. So for the smaller lots in that core area, the Planning Commission is making a recommendation that we continue no off-street parking requirements if there's 10 or fewer residential units or fewer than 4,000 square feet of commercial space. So there was some concern that, with a larger development, say the Ford, the old Chevy dealer. So that's a much larger lot and it has room for parking. So that one would definitely be able to have more than 10 units in it. So residentially, they crafted language that says residential units associated with commercial retail use would have a reduced off-street parking in that area. And it was more or less the same parking as the Urban Village mixed use parking standards. So it still has 1 space for studios, 1 space for bedrooms, 1.5 spaces for every 2-bedroom unit, and 1 space per bedroom up to 2 bedrooms. So it's based on the number of bedrooms, and that's shown on the table on page 72. You can take a look at this on your own and see if you have any concerns. But I'm just explaining the reasoning behind the way the Planning Commission chose these. And then areas outside of that blue line, so outside of the core area, then there would be the normal parking regulations in that area. And that is also shown on the tables on page 71. Again, using the 10 or fewer residential units standard, but they would require more parking than the areas in the core area. It's all a little confusing. Maps help in this. A little time to sit with the code and look at it makes sense too. the intent really is for small lots, the Planning Commission found it was really difficult for a developer to be able to build a lot, provide all the parking that would normally be associated with the development, anywhere else in the city. So we're trying to still stimulate development in the central business district. For smaller developments, allow some parking, relaxed parking standards, but for larger projects, have a higher level of parking needed. So that's the long and short of it. I would totally understand if you have questions. We're not asking for any motions today. So if there's any questions, fire away. And I can always talk to you if you have further detailed questions. I'm happy to talk to you during business hours too.
Okay, I'm ready to fire, John. Sorry. Hey, one of the things I noticed was, I think for over 10 units, it's not up in front of me right now, but you were having parking had to be like 450 feet from the main entry of the door or some darn thing. Having had a business in Sedro-Woolley, people didn't want to walk more than 2 stalls. So how do you explain that?
So that existing 450 foot, I believe, is what you're talking about, is for existing buildings. So that's already in our code. And we put that in there several years ago to allow people that, are starting a new business in an existing building downtown to, let's say, allow them to use the city parking lots that are kind of scattered around the area without having to somehow magically find a parking lot for their new development. So it's a way to allow new businesses to open in the CBD without hitting them with a parking requirement that they really don't have any ability to do anything about. This code is making changes for new buildings. So if you're building a new building, you do have the opportunity to provide parking. But like I said, with new buildings, smaller buildings, it takes up so much of the space that it kills the opportunity for a developer to really do a building. But with the larger buildings, if the whole Ford dealership were to develop, we definitely want to have some parking on site for that.
Does this include residential? That's my question.
Yes, but only so. These are rules for combined residential and with commercial down below. If there's no commercial, then we don't really allow apartments in the central business district without commercial below or in front. Aside from some fourplexes and duplexes out on the peripheral streets, at the end of Borseth Street and kind of over by City Hall, but not on the main streets of Ferry, Woodworth, State Street, Metcalf. Those are exclusively for commercial storefront along the road.
Okay, well, I'm sure I'll talk to you in person before all this comes to transpire, but thank you for your presentation.
All right, now happy to talk to whomever.
Hey, is there anyone else who has questions or comments for John? Okay, seeing none, I guess John and I will be hearing more about this on the 24th. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda was an executive session, but I did receive a notice from Mark, who was calling it, that things have been resolved, so we don't need to do that. So without further ado,
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Madam Mayor.
Council.
Yeah, I have some new business that I think we should consider. I have a constituent request. As my phone timed out, I'm so sorry. Hold on. Codes, got to remember everything. There has been a request to change the ordinance. I believe it's section 6.20.020, which has to do with chickens and ducks. So the constituent would like to add the language to add up to 3 chickens or 3 ducks or 12 domestic quail may be kept. Quail.
Which ordinance are you
So
talking
can
about?
we work on that?
Yeah, we can do that. If you could get the
Great.
information to us.
I'll get it over to Doug. Cool.
Mayor,
All right.
actually, we're working on Title VI right now, myself and Officer Carr. There's updates that need to be made based on changes to state law. And so I was actually aware of the quail issue. And so that's certainly something we can put in there for consideration.
Thank you. Thank you, Nikki. All right.
I have a
So-
question, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Is
Council.
this that they want 6 quail in a, or they don't want it? I'm
They
thinking-
want 12 quail. And that's the minimum order you can get on the internet.
And they want to be able to have that within the city limits within your ward? That's
Right.
what they're asking?
Well, in the city, it'd be a city ordinance, but they just have a little hatch for it and they want quail eggs.
May I make a comment?
Go ahead.
I'm aware that you can order 4 quail at a time. Just saying.
Okay. All right, so we look forward to that ordinance coming before us, maybe on the 24th, maybe a little later, but we look forward to that. I just have one last comment regarding the tent situation. I know that that is something that we are not equipped to do right now, and we will be on the lookout as a city to provide better facilities. We hope to do that in the future, given funding and also staffing to maintain that. I'm very pleased that the council saw fit to not move forward with this, as the liability issue of the unsanitary conditions could prove to be a problem for the city. So we'll find a solution, and there will come a time when I think we will be able to open up some tent sites. So, but not right now. And I think that was a wise decision on the choice of the council. So thank you, council. So without further ado, you all have a great night. We are adjourned.